Hello. Hi. I must apologize. I haven't spoken English on a daily basis in a year and a half or so. So hopefully my accent will not be a trouble for you. Anywho, today I would like to talk about the socialism of the 21st century, which is a term used mainly in Latin America by certain presidents, certain extremely left presidents. So I'm just gonna explain where the name comes from. My intention is not to analyze the economic consequences or political consequences of these movement or science, and just pretty much explain where the name comes from. It's just history. So in 2003, President Hugo Chavez, president of Venezuela, was sitting on his big comfortable couch in his office in the palace, in the presidential palace of Miraflores in Caracas, and his assistants knocked on the door, opened the door, and said, Dr. Alexander, I can never pronounce this, Dr. Alexander Vladirovich Buzgalin is here to see you. Chavez heard this and says, it's okay, let Dr. Vladirovich come in. The sister pretended she didn't hear it, and she said, Dr. Buzgalin is coming right now to see you, sir. So, who is Alexander Buzgalin? He's Russian, I guess you can imagine that by now. He is, he was a professor at the University of Moscow in 1990, and he was a declared communist. And in 1990, he declared that he wanted the Soviet Union to come back to life, communism to restart, to be again the main engine of Russia. Thus, he wrote a book called Communism in the 20th Century, which pretty much explain what to do now to regain communism, to socialism, obviously taking into account all the problems that took place before the wall crumbled. And because of this book, he became very popular among his socialist friends. So popular that Fidel Castro in Cuba heard about him and invited him to Cuba to pay him a visit to talk about his book and his ideas. And he went. He went. Which year was? It was January 2000, and he was a guest in a villa in Guanabo, which is a location 30 kilometers from Havana. And he went to see Fidel Castro, and he said, "I'm gonna try to translate this as good as possible. Para mi generación, for my generation, Cuba." I'm just gonna try to instantly translate this. For my generation, Cuba is much more than a small country in the Caribbean. It's a symbol of possibility to gain in the possibility to establish the fight for socialism in a small island right in the nose of the United States. It's a symbol of romanticism, creation of joy, and youth. And he also said to Fidel Castro the following thing: Cuba could inspire the selfish help from thousands of scientists in Russia and in other countries which sympathize with socialism, and they'll be willing to work for free or for a small payment for this cause in Cuba. Uh, so Cuba could overcome the deficit of meat, um, milk, food in general, energy, and automobiles. So when Fidel Castro heard this, he was extremely excited. This is a guy who rewrote socialism for the new times, and said that it's possible for other people who see socialism as a good political movement and economic movement, a chance to go to Cuba and make it better. So they became really close friends, and so close friends that one day he thought that Hugo Chavez, his dearest friend, could have could be interested in Dr. Busgalin's ideas. So he called Hugo Chavez and told him, "Hey, this guy, this dear friend of mine, is going to see you, so please pay attention to him." And he went. Dr. Busgalin went to Caracas, and that's how our story initiated. Uh, Busgalin was a particular guy in the with his appearance. I mean, he had like really long beard, a bald head. He was his skin was really red. Was very Russian. With the respect to Russians, obviously, and his physical appearance was not appealing. Actually, Hugo Chavez was a little bit repelled by him because of this, and Busgalin noticed this. So he told him, "I know you're a busy man. I know you have a full agenda, so I must go. But before I go, I want to give you this book." And this book was called The Socialism of the Future. So Hugo Chavez looked at this book and said to Busgalin, "I believe socialism is the future as well." To which Busgalin replied the following. Once again, I'm trying to translate it as good as possible. Uh, Moreover, this book treats socialism of the 20th century. It's an economic theory that complements with the theory of Valentinovich Pleganov. So when Hugo Chavez heard the name Pleganov, he actually was familiar with Pleganov's work. He got excited, so told Busgalin, "Okay, don't go. You can sit here and tell me about your ideas." So asked Busgalin question after question, and Busgalin answered them in a really articulated way and immediately. And while they were talking, Hugo Chavez asked his assistants uh, to investigate, to do a lot of research about Pleganov's work, um, economic views, political views, social views, but especially uh, his his views, his ideas on how to stay in power as long as possible. It's very similar to Machiavello principles written in his book The Prince. So that's how he got acquainted with the ideas of socialism of the 21st century, and it was January 30th of 2005. It was a political forum in Porto Alegre, which is in Brazil. There was almost 200,000 participants, officially registered. And when President Chavez took the stand, he declared the following. Uh, Before this forum, which constitutes the the greatest political event in the world, uh, I communicate, or I tell you that we have taken this historical commitment to run the Bolivarian revolution to the socialism of the 21st century, which is based on love, fraternity, and equality. It was the first time socialism of the 21st century was heard in the world. Well, to a big audience anyway. So after that, after this date in 2005, which was once again when socialism of the 21st century was heard, several books were written about it. Socialism of the 21st Century, Model to Arm and Disarm, which was written by Carlos Monedero. Another one, Hugo Chavez and the Socialism of the 21st Century, written by Hans Dietrich, who is German and believed to be the father of socialism of the 21st century. That's pop culture anyway, but as you can see, he's not. He's Dr. Busgalin. In 2006, three additional books were written. What is Socialism of the 21st Century by Michael Lebowitz, Power and Socialism of the 21st Century by Isabel Rauber, 20 theses, 20 political theses of Henry Dussel. In 2008, it was Socialism of the 21st Century. Is there something after neoliberalism? Published by Attilo Boron. And in 2010, which is fairly recent, Socialism of the 21st Century, Invented Not to Fail, which was written by Marta Harnecker. After that, 2 years after that, after Chavez's announcement of the 21st century that his country was gonna follow this, two more disciples followed this doctrine as well. Rafael Correa in Ecuador and Evo Morales in Bolivia. So the socialism of the 21st century took a regional perspective as well. So hopefully you enjoyed this. This is how, once again, this is how socialism the 21st century was born, and hopefully you found it useful. Don't forget to comment, rate it, and goodbye.